So we're going to show you next how to cut a mortise and tenon for the leg frame. They're slightly different, but basically the mortise is the same and the tenon is the same. This one's got a protruding tenon, and I've rounded it over in the same fashion for the craftsman style furniture. So we'll be showing you how quick and simple that is. This one here is a Haunch mortise and tenon joint. And this has a haunch on the end here, so I'll be showing you how to form that. So we'll set these aside and we'll show you on the one that we've laid out here. So this tenon, this mortise is all the way through, and this one's going to have a haunch on it. So I'm going to show you how to cut the mortise on this one. There's no point showing you this one, it's exactly the same, except this one is going to have an added step in here. We're going to put a haunch in it shortly. So I'll show you how to chop a mortise with a bevel edge chisel. I'm going right onto the line here, just on the waist side, the part I'm going to remove. Make one chop. We're right up against the line. Now I'm moving, the bevel edge of my chisel is in the direction I'm going to be travelling, so I'm moving across the wood this way. So that first chop there, that just goes in a 1/16 of an inch, but the second one will go in an 1/8 of an inch. So watch here. I lever slightly, 1/8 of an inch, move over, and I keep going and see what's happening. Every time I go in here, I'm now in 5/8 of an inch, but I only chopped 4 times, and it's because of this sequence of using the chisel that's so critical to this method. Very different than anything you've seen in any books, but it works. So I keep chopping like this. In a minute I'm going to start levering. So here now I start to lever out this waist. I'm levering against my waist wood, so I'm not doing any damage. Now I'm already down in here an inch, so I'm only going through 4 inches, so it's not going to take very long. Lever. The nice thing about this is you get a very uniform shavings coming out. See, there's my chopped material, so it's coming out very uniformly and without very much effort. Now I know I'm working in pine, but this system works in oak even better, and in cherry too, so I'm very conscious about not bending my chisel. So I ease up and just lever against that waist wood. All the way up to my line, like this, even on the very last one, because that single-sided bevel is moving that away from the line. So here I'm dead on the line. Now I turn my chisel around and chop and lever a little bit at a time until my chisel is perpendicular. And this is the amazing thing. So what I have is from 1/16 here, 1/8 I slope down here, so it's actually sloped down, and you can see that I've gone in at least 2 inches. So I'm actually through my first piece. I come back along the mortise hole. This time, instead of my chisel being perpendicular, my bevel is perpendicular, and I lever against my waist wood, and then I move along a little bit further and I lever out my waist wood. I'm not damaging any of the periphery of my mortise hole. And you can feel if you're taking too much off. And you don't even need to remove the waste at this point, because all these fibres are already separated. Binding on the walls a little bit there. I usually clean out with a narrower chisel, a 3/8 chisel. Works very well for that. But I use the width of my chisel to guarantee my wall. So you'll see I'm not cleaning anything off the walls of my mortise hole at this point. I've got to be conscious, I don't want to damage here, even though this is actually the underside of the bench. And nobody will see this ever. I'm still constantly aware of good practice. Here I might leave her against my fingertips. I've got a narrower chisel here that will help clean out the mortise hole, but now I'm consistent all the way across. I'm through that first section, which means I'm exactly halfway through. Nice clean walls. So now I'm flipping over to the other side, and all this without a vise, without a proper bench. So in, see the bevel of my chisel travels always in the direction I'm moving across the mortise. When I've gone about, I don't know, half an inch, I can start to lever. So that waste just comes right out, no hesitation, 1/8 at a time, no more than that. This is very, very effective, and this method, you won't really see this in a book, except my book. But it's the way I was trained as a boy, so it's not new. So I can feel, I can hear, I'm listening. This is the nice thing. This is the 5 senses engaging. This is you working real wood. The chisel twists a little bit, but you don't want the chisel to dominate you or the wood. You have to have control. Cheap chisels here. This is the cheapest chisel I've ever used, I think. This one cost brand new £1.50, and it's a very good chisel. Turn the chisel around here. Follow the same bevel as your angle as your bevel of your chisel formed, and just work your chisel perpendicular incrementally. See, I'm through to the other side effortlessly, really, and then about a third of the way along, start to connect the rest of that hole to the other side. You can hear it, listen, not much resistance now. Very fast. Turn your chisel around and work from this top side, and then right in on that shoulder line. Be conscious not to let your chisel go all the way through to your new bench top. Oops. And now just remove the waste here. This is just very fibrous now. And then what I usually try to do is just put my chisel in and use the walls, the sides of my chisel, and now I want my chisel to rest in any position I put this chisel in. I want it to be able to rest in that position wherever I place it, because that's the absolute width of the chisel is identical to the mortise. Now we have to cut the haunch on here. Okay, now I've chopped the mortise, so what I want to do is run the gauge lines here, because we're going to put the recess that receives the haunch of the tenon. So down onto the top, and it's going to go down 1/2 inch, so I'm going to use a 1/2 inch chisel just to get my depth right there. And here I simply saw down these cheeks, down to the line, and remove that waste. And that's how you cut a haunched mortise to receive a haunched tenon.